In the heart of New York City, the borough known as the Bronx was once a scene of devastation and despair. Picture this, the 70s and 80s in the Bronx. This was a period marked by high crime rates, rampant poverty, and an overall sense of desolation. The socioeconomic status of the area was at an all-time low, with residents struggling to find a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. This was also the infamous era of the Bronx's burning. This wasn't just a metaphor, but a harsh reality. Buildings ablaze, set on fire by landlords seeking insurance payouts or residents desperate to find warmth in the freezing winters. The fires were a physical manifestation of the socio-economic turmoil that had engulfed this borough. And let's not forget the political neglect. The Bronx was seemingly abandoned by the powers that be. Government services were scarce, public facilities were in shambles, and the economic decline was palpable. It was as if the Bronx had been forgotten, left to fend for itself in a world that was rapidly moving forward. But it wasn't just about the buildings or the economy. It was about the people. The vibrant communities that were forced into a state of survival. It was about the mothers and fathers, the children, the artists, and the dreamers who called the Bronx home. This was a place where the human spirit was tested, and yet, it was also a place where that same spirit was forged into something stronger, something more resilient. So, why are we talking about this? Why delve into the gritty past of the Bronx? Because this is the birthplace of hip-hop. This is where a cultural revolution started. This was the incubator of a movement that would go on to shape music, fashion, and pop culture around the globe. This was the Bronx during the 70s and 80s, a place seemingly forgotten by the rest of the world. But it was here, amidst the ashes and the rubble, that a new sound, a new rhythm, a new voice was born. This was the beginning of a story that would change the world. But amidst the ashes and the rubble, something was stirring, something revolutionary. In a cityscape marred by fire and forgotten by many, the youth of the Bronx was sparking a different kind of flame. A flame fueled not by despair but by determination, not by frustration but by creativity. And in the heart of this concrete jungle, against the backdrop of the burning Bronx, a new genre of music was born, hip-hop. As the city around them crumbled, the youth found solace in rhythm and rhyme. They began to channel their experiences into music, turning their frustration into lyrical expressions of resilience, their despair into beats of defiance. The streets became their stage, their stories, their songs. This was more than music, it was a movement. It was their voice in a world that often seemed deaf to their struggles. The birthplace of hip-hop was not a glitzy studio or a grand stage, but the humble block parties that began to dot the Bronx. It was here, amidst the laughter and the camaraderie, that the foundations of hip-hop were laid. DJs like Kool Herc did not just spin records, they spun magic, creating a soundscape that was as diverse and dynamic as the Bronx itself. They began to experiment with beats and breaks, crafting a unique sound that resonated with the spirit of their community. This was a revolution in rhythm, a symphony of the streets. Where others saw devastation, they saw determination. Where others saw ruin, they saw resilience. They turned the echoes of the burning Bronx into the beats of a burgeoning culture, using music as a means to rise above their circumstances. In the face of adversity, they found artistry. In the echo of sirens, they found the symphony of the streets. They took their experiences, their hopes, their struggles, and they turned them into something beautiful, something powerful. They turned them into hip-hop. And so, from the ashes of the burning Bronx, hip-hop was born. As the Bronx started to heal, so did hip-hop begin to grow. As the borough started to rise from the ashes, so too did this vibrant culture, fueled by the resilience and creativity of its people. Hip-hop began to spread beyond the Bronx, permeating the streets of New York and eventually the world. This was not just music, it was a voice, a way of life. It was an expression of struggle and victory, poverty and prosperity, despair and hope. It was raw, it was real, and it resonated with people far beyond the burnt-out buildings of the Bronx. The power of hip-hop was in its authenticity. It was the sound of the streets, the rhythm of the city, the heartbeat of a community. It was a form of protest, a call to action, a cry for justice. It was a celebration of life, a testament to the human spirit's ability to triumph over adversity. As hip-hop began to gain momentum, key figures emerged, solidifying its place in the music industry. Among them was Grandmaster Flash, a pioneer who used turntables as an instrument, creating a unique sound that would become synonymous with hip-hop. Alongside him, the Furious Five, a group of lyricists who used their words to paint vivid pictures of life in the Bronx. Together, they brought hip-hop to the mainstream, breaking boundaries and challenging conventions. Their influence was profound. They showed that hip-hop was more than just a genre. It was a culture, a movement, a revolution. It was a force that could bring about change, both within the community and in society at large. Hip-hop began to shape the music industry, influencing artists and genres across the board. It gave rise to a new generation of musicians, inspired by the pioneers of the Bronx. It changed the way people listened to music, the way they danced, the way they dressed, the way they spoke. Hip-hop was no longer just a Bronx phenomenon, it was becoming a global movement. A voice from the streets of the Bronx was now echoing around the world, and it was a voice that could not be ignored. But the Bronx wasn't just about music, it was also a battleground. The 80s were a turbulent time, with various gangs vying for control over the borough. The streets weren't just physical territories, they were symbolic battlegrounds, each corner, each block, a testament to a group's power and influence. These gangs were more than just organized crime syndicates. They were communities within themselves, providing protection, a sense of belonging, and even an identity for many. They were the kings and queens of their concrete jungles, dictating the rhythm of the streets. Their influence was so profound that it seeped into the music, the lyrics, and the beats of the hip-hop culture that was burgeoning at the time. As the decades rolled on, the power dynamics shifted. New gangs came into existence, old ones dissolved, alliances were made and broken, and territories were claimed and lost. Each shift in power brought about a change in the community dynamics. The Bronx was like a living, breathing entity, constantly evolving, shaped by the ebb and flow of power among its inhabitants. These power shifts were not without consequences. Violence often erupted as gangs clashed over territories. The community lived in a state of perpetual tension, always on the edge, waiting for the next power struggle to ignite. Yet, amid the chaos and the struggle, the Bronx found its voice in hip-hop. The gangs, their power, their struggles, their stories became the fuel for the raw, gritty lyrics that defined the genre. They were the unseen muses, their influence echoing in every beat, every rhyme. In the end, the gangs didn't just run the Bronx. They shaped it, influenced it, and left an indelible mark on its culture. They were as integral to the Bronx narrative as the music that was born within its borders. The struggle for power was as much a part of the Bronx narrative as the beats that echoed through its streets. Today, the Bronx tells a different story, a story of transformation and resilience. The echoes of its tumultuous past still linger in its brick and mortar, but they're increasingly drowned out by the vibrant rhythm of progress. The borough that was once synonymous with urban decay and lawlessness has experienced a significant metamorphosis. Crime rates have dipped considerably from their peak in the late 20th century, due in part to a concerted effort from the community and law enforcement alike. Dilapidated buildings that once stood as stark reminders of the borough's struggle have given way to revitalized homes and businesses, breathing new life into the Bronx. But the change is not just physical. The cultural landscape of the Bronx has shifted as well. Hip-hop, born from the ashes of the Bronx's darkest days, has become an intrinsic part of its identity. This genre, rooted in raw expression and relentless creativity, has not only reshaped the Bronx but also left an indelible mark on the global music scene. From the lyrical prowess of Big Pun to the innovative beats of Swizz Beatz, the Bronx has produced some of hip-hop's most influential figures. Their music, much like the borough itself, is a testament to resilience and the power of transformation. It tells stories of triumph over adversity, and in doing so, it has given the Bronx a voice. And it's not just about the music. Hip-hop culture has woven itself into the very fabric of the Bronx, influencing fashion, language, and even the way people carry themselves. It's a culture of resilience, of making something out of nothing, much like the Bronx did. The impact of hip-hop on the Bronx cannot be overstated. It has helped shape the borough's identity, providing a platform for its residents to express their experiences, their struggles, and their victories. The Bronx may have been born in fire, but it was through hip-hop that it found its voice.